Hey everyone, Shashank this side, currently working as a senior data engineer at Expedia and previously worked for fine companies like Amazon. So in today's video, I will be talking about the data engineering interview process at tech companies plus some of the best resume tips. So before starting the main topic, if you are new to our channel, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. So whenever you will start applying for the data engineering interviews in any of the top tech companies, so these companies will be having a very specific set of interview process, right? So based on my 5 years of experience in the data engineering, I have even given interviews for multiple companies, and also I have taken interviews for the candidates like freshers, entry level freshers, and even seniors folks as well. So today I'll be majorly focused on like how this interview process will look like in top tech companies, how many total rounds will be there, and in each round what kind of things those interviewers and companies will be focusing, what would be the expectation from the candidate side, and also from my side, I will be sharing some secret sauces to crack these tech interviews. So in total, there will be 5 rounds for the interview process for data engineer role. So your first round will be the kind of online assessment, or you can say a coding test. It won't be a pure coding test, but it will include few things related to coding and few more things which are not related to coding, and I will talk about that one. And next 2 rounds will be again the technical ones, where like the interviewers will focus on your technical skills. And the fourth round, that will be particularly based on the design, or you can say the design round. And the fifth one, which is again the important one, plus little bit tough to crack, that is the behavioral round, or we can say hiring manager. And if you talk about the FANG level companies, we call it the bar raiser round. So let's proceed with the interview process. So as I said, the first round will be the online assessment, and you can say the kind of coding round. So now I'll talk about that one, what will be included and how you can crack this round. So in the online assessment round, these companies will be sending you a test link, and that can be on different platforms like the HackerRank, HackerEarth, and many other popular platforms. So there, mostly for the data engineering round, as I said in my roadmap videos as well, that you don't need to focus much on the hard level of the coding questions like easy, medium till medium level. And this entire online assessment will take approximately 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes, and there will be 2 sections. First section, in that part there can be one or at max two coding questions, and that would be till medium level and you need to solve it. There will be multiple test cases as well, right? So try to write your solution in such a way that like your maximum test cases are getting passed, and that's how like the entire score will be calculated. And the second section, sometimes like based on my experiences, I have seen either companies will give you a couple of SQL questions, right? They will give you a proper problem statement with the table schema and some dummy data, and there will be some problem statement written that for this particular data set you need to write this SQL query, right? And whatever will be the expected output, it should be matched with your query output. Once that will be done, then like you can submit your queries, because in that case it will be the successful query or you have written the correct query. So 2 3 SQL question you can expect. Sometimes let's say companies are not focusing on the SQL part in the screening round, or you can say this online assessment round, then they can probably give you some multiple choice questions as well, which will be related to the big data fundamentals like the Hadoop, Spark, or related to shell scripting, right? These kind of basic MCQs they can give you. So that will be the thing which will be included in this online assessment round. And based on my experience, I would like to suggest that when you appear in these like online assessment, make sure you are not trying to copy anything from the Google or anything like, because that will come into the plagiarism part and you will be disqualified from this round. And focus on the timing part as well, right? Let's say you are taking a lot of time for your coding questions to solve and you are stuck on one particular problem and it is giving wrong output, then don't invest your time for that particular solution. Move on to the MCQs or SQL questions or whatever you can solve quickly. So that is the secret tip which you can follow to crack this round. Now once you clear your online assessment, or you can say the screening round, you will be moving into the next interview rounds, which will be a combination of technical plus design plus the behavioral rounds. So first, let's talk about the first technical round. It will consist majorly the problem solving plus SQL related things. So in the first technical round, the major focus will be on your problem solving, like little bit of the DSA and how you approach the problem, and the SQL related questions as well. So I will elaborate it more that what would be expected from your side and how you can crack this round. So majorly the interviewer will focus on basic or let's say the medium level of coding question. They will give you a problem to solve, and while solving this problem, right, your first thought should be to get all the requirements, right? Let's say the interviewer has given you a problem statement related to array. Try to ask the what would be the maximum limit of input numbers. It will be a positive number, negative number, or anything, right? Any test case you can think of, try to ask those things, clarify it beforehand so that you can move into the right direction while solving that particular coding question. And the best thing about this round is that interviewers actually want to see that how you approach to a particular problem. They won't be expecting that you are accurately writing that particular code or it is 100% executable. Even if you are using the right data structure, right algorithm with best time and space complexities, and you are not even able to code it 100%, but you are able to narrate your approach, that would be sufficient, right? Now, the best secret tip to crack this interview round is think out loud. And I'm pretty sure many of you might be thinking, what is this terminology? And I will definitely explain it for you. So, think out loud means whenever you are narrating your approach, or let's say you are trying to solve a particular problem, don't just silently write your approach, keep on narrating as well. Why? Because interviewers are very helpful. They always want you to hire for a particular job role. So when you are narrating your approach, so in that case, what will happen? The interviewer can pick that if you are in the right track or wrong track. Or let's say he or she thinks that you are on a wrong track, then they will try to help you with some indirect hints as well, right? But it's your responsibility to catch those hints and move on to the right track. So that was about the problem solving and how efficiently you can crack this round. But there will be another component of it, which will be the SQL part. So for the SQL, the interviewer will give you a schema as well. You can say some dummy data set and a particular problem, and you need to write a query for that. And again, follow the same thing like the think out loud, like what kind of functions you are going to use, what would be your approach to solve that particular SQL query. And the important things from the interview perspective you need to focus on, make sure you are practicing the queries related to joins, the group bys, the window functions, which is very much important. And that's how these all things will be included in this particular round, which is your first technical round after the online assessment. And one important point to mention here, like whenever you will be interviewing for top tech companies, so mostly each round would be an elimination round. So let's say you are not able to perform well in any of the round, you will be disqualified from there and you won't be selected or you won't be moving forward for the next interview round. So make sure you are trying your best in each and every round so that you can move further and crack it till the very end. Now let's talk about the second technical interview round, which will consist two things. Again, the SQL part plus the your understanding related to big data frameworks and whatever you have done so far in the big data domain. Now let me elaborate it more that what would be expected from your side in this interview round and what kind of questions those interviewers can ask. So why again I mentioned the SQL, because in my roadmap videos I mentioned this part as well. Be it any of the data engineering profile or any of the profile in the big data domain, SQL is something which is really important, and it will hold 30 to 35% of weightage in your interview process. So that's why even in the second technical interview round, the interviewers can ask you the questions related to SQL, and it will again revolve around those same topics, the join related queries, complex subqueries, case when related things, or the group by statement and the window functions. So make sure you are practicing all these things practically and even trying to solve the complex queries as well, because interviews are not only about the simple SQL queries, it will be like more towards the advanced SQL related queries as well. Now the second part of this interview round, which is the understanding of big data, their fundamentals, the framework understanding, and that is something which is really, really important. So how those interviewers can ask these kind of questions? So that will be majorly focused on your understanding related to the architecture of any particular big data frameworks. Let's talk about the Hadoop. Let's talk about the Spark, right? So they will try to test how well you know this particular big data framework, whether you have worked on it practically or not. And the common questions are, let's say they are trying to ask questions related to Spark. So they would like to know, do you know how to optimize any Spark query, or do you know how to optimize any Spark related application in terms of the function, in terms of the processing, in terms of the resources? So this is the general idea, like how this happens. And there will be multiple questions related to Hadoop architecture, like what is HDFS, how it works, how the map reduce processing work, how this resource manager allocates the resource to different kind of applications. Similarly, like they can ask, let's say, what is the difference between file formats, ORC, Parquet, Evro, and many other fundamental related things. So, what is the best secret tip to crack this interview round? And that is, don't be fake. And I will elaborate it. What does I actually mean it? So, when I said this part that don't be fake, that means whatever you have mentioned in your resume in terms of the technical skill set, be it any framework or anything, it should be authentic. Because let's say for the sake of the interview shortlisting or resume shortlisting, you mention those frameworks which you haven't used or which you didn't use in your projects or anything like that. So what will happen, let's say the interviewer start picking those frameworks from your resume and start asking questions around that, then that means you won't be able to answer, and you are decreasing your chances to select in that particular round. So that's why just be authentic. Whatever you have used so far, deep dive into it, get the complete understanding, not just from the theory perspective, the architecture, how to practically use it, what are the proper trade-offs, different comparisons between different tech frameworks, and that's how you will be able to clear this second technical interview round. Now let's talk about the third technical interview round. And this third interview round will consist like three things, and that is not mandatory that all three things will be asked. So interviewer can ask the data modeling related question, or the questions related to your projects, or any random question related to pipeline design. So in this round, majorly the interviewers will be focusing on the design, like how well you know to create the data pipelines and how efficiently you can create any data model. Or let's say you have worked on any particular big data project. So interviewer would like to deep dive into it and understand what was your contribution and how you did that project. So I will explain each and every component of it one by one, that what kind of questions you can expect from the interviewers. Let's say interviewer want to ask any question related to data modeling. So in this part, you need to focus more on the data warehousing concepts, because the practical questions could be anything. Let's say interviewer can ask, can you design a data model for any ride application or any food delivery application? And honestly, I remember one of my recent interviews where that particular interviewer asked me to design a data model, or you can say data warehouse for Arogya Setu app, right, which being used for the like vaccination details and that slot booking, right? So these kind of practical questions will be there. So make sure your data modeling and data warehousing related concepts are crystal clear. Now the second aspect of this design round, let's say the interviewer want to check how well you know to design these data pipelines, the proper ETL processing, extraction, transformation, and load. So in that case, the interviewer might give you a problem which they are trying to solve in their particular company, or any hypothetical situation, that let's say we have this particular use case, this will be the source data, and these will be the business logic, and that would be the end, or you can say the downstream part. So you need to design this particular pipeline, and make sure when you approach this design kind of question, the secret tip to crack it, like you are able to get all the requirements, plus you are considering these two factors, the fault tolerance and the scalability. So the fault tolerance and scalability is the very important point in any of your data pipeline design, because interviewers would be like expecting how well you understand the high volume of the data, its variety, its velocity. So if you are designing your pipeline in such a way which is not scalable, then for the peak volume of the data, it would be completely breaked and it won't be an efficient solution. So that's why interviewer would be expecting, and they will try to notice whether you have covered these kind of things in your pipeline design, and also like related to dependency management, workflow part, the data backfilling. These are the some important terminologies which you need to take care while designing these kind of fault tolerant and scalable data pipelines. So the third aspect of this particular interview round could be the discussion around the projects. So how this round will go ahead for the project discussion, the interviewer would be really interested to know more about your project. Let's say you have created some project in your past, or let's say you were working in a company and there you work in big data related projects. So interviewer will ask the complete problem statement, that what you were trying to solve and what kind of data volume you were processing there, what was your contribution, what was the architecture, what was the design, what were the challenges did you face, and what was your contribution is the most important thing, right? So that would be for the project discussion part. And there is one really important secret tip to crack this particular interview round, is be authentic in your resume for the project perspective as well. And why, I will explain it. Because sometimes what happened, let's say we were working as a team on a particular project, right? And our contribution, let's say, was only for some specific module, and it was just, let's say, 10 and 20%. Still we try to mention those kind of projects in our resume. So what will happen, if you are not understanding that project completely, so you won't be able to answer questions related to design, architecture, scalability, and other aspects. So let's say whenever you are preparing your resume, right, for specifically to tackle these project related discussion, make sure you are mentioning those projects where your contribution was very high, and you know every aspect of it, like the complete end-to-end things related to that particular project. What was the use case, what are the ins and outs of that project. So that is the most important secret tip to crack your design related interviews if the interviewer is asking questions related to your projects. Now I'm going to talk about the most important interview round, and this is the last step of your entire interview process as well, right? And this round is all about the hiring manager behavioral round, and in the FANG level companies we call it the bar raiser. And we as a candidate think that this round is pretty easy to crack, but actually it is not. And why, I will explain it. So whenever we are concerned about our technical interviews, right? So we know there are resources available for that, right? We can Google something, we can find few videos or some blogs, and we can prepare about these things. But the hiring manager round, behavioral or bar raiser, is all about your behavior. This hiring manager or behavioral round, or you can say the bar raiser round, is all about your thought process for a particular situation, right? So that would be the main expectation. And honestly speaking, this round is definitely not that easy to crack, because the interviewer, which might be your hiring manager, like who is particularly hiring for that particular round, or the bar raiser, like any person from the different team who is trying to check your fitment into the team, right? Because when you work in a company, right, you work as a team. So every manager or the entire company, like whosoever is hiring you, would like to check whether you are a good fit for that particular team or not. So that's why the interviewer will try to put some random and very hypothetical situations in front of you, and will try to check your positive mindset and how you're gonna approach that particular problem, right? So I will also give you some problem statements which were asked to me in the interview rounds. So I remember a couple of hypothetical situation questions which were asked to me. So for an example, let's say as a team you are working on a particular project, and your manager assigned a task related to design, like there's a problem statement and you need to come up with a design, and same task was assigned to 2 3 members of that particular team, and everybody came up with an idea. So like how would you convince your other teammates that whatever design you have prepared is the best one, right? What would be your approach and how would you try to convince them? And second hypothetical situation could be, let's your manager assign a task to you, and obviously there will be a particular deadline for that, and because of any reason, any unavoidable circumstances, you are not able to meet those deadlines. Then how you gonna communicate this thing to your manager, your end users, or your leadership? Because when you work in an organization, this communication part becomes very very important, because you are owning a particular project and you need to communicate every single update about it, be the timelines, deadlines, and whatever it is. So that's why the hiring manager or the bar raisers would be interested to check these kind of thought process, that if this kind of random situation in front of you, how you are going to react and how you are going to solve it with a positive mindset. Now the best secret tip to crack this interview round is be authentic and try to recall your past experience before appearing into the hiring manager round. So why I'm telling this point, that recall your past experience, because again it is all about these situations. So hiring managers can definitely ask questions related to your past experience with different companies and the managers and the relationship with the colleagues, right? So even before appearing into this hiring manager round, make sure you are able to recall your past experience, and always try to put your thought in a positive mindset. Let's say the hiring manager asks, tell me about your experience with the past company or any situation which was not suitable for you. So try to put it in a very diplomatic and positive way, not just do a bad mouthing in front of the current manager or anything like that. That would definitely create a negative impact. So this is something which is really really important, and this trick has always worked for me, because knowing about your past will give you the idea what kind of random situations you have faced so far. So before appearing into the interview, take a note of it and try to prepare a story around it. Because during the interview, if you are taking 1, 2, or 5 minutes to think about something, then interviewer will definitely get to know that you are trying to be fake and you are trying to frame a story, not a authentic story. So that's why this becomes very very important. And there is one very very much important thing about this hiring manager round, is that it is very much important for you as well. Because in the hiring manager round, that manager will be taking your interviews, so this is the best opportunity for you as well to ask as many as questions you can, right? Let's say you want to understand more about the team, ask those questions to that manager. And you want to understand about the project, tech stack, or any questions related to work life balance, culture, this is the best opportunity for you to utilize this hiring manager round. Because at the end, this round will definitely help you to take the decision whether you should go for this particular company or not. And that can only happen if you are utilizing this round in a particular efficient manner, and if you are not asking any questions related to company, projects, and the tech stack, then you are definitely losing the opportunity to know the actual truth of the particular team and the project. Now that was all about the entire interview process. I have done the breakdown and explained every single thing about the individual rounds and how you can crack it. But the most important part is getting the interview calls. And here your resume will play a very very important role. And based on my experience, I have seen folks are losing multiple good opportunities because of a bad resume. And today I will be also focusing on some of the best resume making tips which you can use while creating your resume, and it will definitely increase your chances to get shortlisted for the multiple job opportunities. So the first thing you should focus while preparing your resume, that it should be at max one pager. So there is a famous saying, if even you are a CTO of a company, your resume should be of one page. And I will explain why. So whenever we talk about the resumes, right, it becomes very very important to keep it very crisp and concise. And this is the point where lots of people make mistake. Even if they don't have a much relevant experience, or let's say much relevant content to show in their resume, still they like keep it 2 pages or this kind of length, which is definitely not acceptable. So how you can optimize these things? So first thing, try to focus on like avoid unnecessary stuff or avoid unnecessary details. I have seen resumes where folks are mentioning their mother's name, father's name, date of birth, the particular address, right? Which is definitely not at all required. So in the header, you should simply mention your name, your current job title, active phone number, active email ID, and if you are trying to add any link, for an example, the GitHub repository or the LinkedIn profile link, right? These would be the important things which should be included in the header. And apart from that, there is no need to put any unnecessary extra information. Now the second part, which is very much important, the mentioning of technical skill. I have seen people mentioning their technical skills like just comma separated. Let's say they have worked on 20 or 30 skill sets, everything they are mentioning with comma separated part, which is definitely not acceptable. Because let's assume there is a recruiter and she is trying to, let's say, scan 150 resumes. So how she will get to know that what are specific technology domain you have worked on? So how you can highlight those things? Let's say there were 20-25 skill sets, so you can categorize it. Let's say you worked on three particular languages, Python, Java and Scala. Try to create a heading named as the programming under the technical skill set heading and mention those three programming languages in front of it. Let's say you worked on multiple databases, Cassandra, HBase, MySQL. Create a heading named as database and mention it in front of it. Let's say you worked on multiple big data frameworks, Hive, Spark, Flink. Create a heading named as big data frameworks and put it in that way. So that's how you can beautify it and it look very decent, well categorized, and recruiter can like quickly identify what all technology domains you have worked so far. Now another very much important part, that is mentioning your work experience. So this is the very important part where lots of people make mistake and again include unnecessary details in their projects, which is again not required. And why? Because in the projects, what happens, we try to elaborate it like as much as we can, and we think this is the best way to convey every information about our projects, which is definitely a wrong idea. So how you can optimize it? First, try to mention those important projects where your contribution was very high, and it's not required to mention like 10-12 projects. Let's say you are having 3 or 5 years of experience and you worked on like 10-12 projects so far, so there is no need to mention all those projects. Try to mention 3-4 projects where your contribution was very high, you know all the ins and outs of that particular project, and everything you can explain about the architecture and design. So if you are comfortable, just mention those projects and try to put it in a decreasing order, like your current company and the latest project you are working on, and similarly in the decreasing order. Now talking about the what should be the explanation part of the each project. So always try to put like 2 to 3 liners explanation for each of the project. There is no need to write a paragraph, because in the interviews the interviewer will definitely try to ask the questions around your project, and like he or she won't be reading your entire resume to get the details about the projects you have worked on. So there is no need to put that extra paragraph related information, just 2-3 lines for each project. And your words, your sentences should be very crisp, and also try to highlight the important points in your project explanation, because numbers speaks more than words. So let's say you worked on a project where you optimized something and there the manual effort reduced from 100% to 50%. So these are the matrices you should definitely highlight and it will catch the attention. Similarly, let's say you solved a particular critical business problem, try to highlight it, bold or italic, whatever you want to do, right? So that's how you can save a really good amount of space in your particular resume. And in order to create like single page resume, right now the best format is the columnar one, because that way you will be able to utilize the left side of your resume, the header in a well manner, and the right pan for the project explanation. And the last but not the least and very much important, like highlighting your achievements as well, because multiple times we ignore our achievements because we think those are not worth mentioning in the resume. But honestly speaking, you should definitely do that. and why your achievements actually highlight you as a better personality, because recruiters will also get to know that you are someone who is just not into the technology, but apart from the technology you are also following your passion or anything. Let's say you are a content creator or you created something, you can mention it as a achievement. And similarly, let's say you are giving tech talks and you are helping the communities, or any achievement which you have got so far. It could be like winning a hackathon, organizing some hackathons, or these kind of tech talks, plus multiple other achievements. Please try to put it in your resume. It will definitely create a really good impact. So this is how you can optimize your resume, and it will definitely will become a single page resume, and it will increase your chances to get multiple job opportunities. So that's what I had for you guys in this video, and I'm pretty sure whatever details I have provided related to the interview process in the multiple tech companies, this will definitely help you in your interview preparation as well. So if you find this video informative, make sure to like this one in the big numbers, and for more such type of amazing content, subscribe to Scaler.